It's been revealed that Prince Andrew hosted the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein as well as Ghislaine Maxwell and Harvey Weinstein at the Royal Lodge, the publicly owned home where he effectively lives rent-free after he paid for its renovations.
The image is pristine. A royal shooting weekend at Sandringham. The crisp autumn air, the formal lunches, the ancient rituals of aristocracy. It's the picture Prince Andrew desperately wanted the world to see. But behind that polished facade, in the private bathrooms of the estate, a very different story was being quietly, grimly cleaned up by staff. This isn't about legal arguments or public relations spin. This is about physical evidence. The kind of evidence that doesn't rely on memory or testimony, but that was left behind, packaged and waiting. For years, the full truth of these gatherings was locked behind a wall of royal privilege and staff loyalty. Now, a shocking insider account has broken that silence wide open, revealing the contents of scandalous party bags that completely dismantle the official story. And for a new king, this wasn't just another rumour. It was the final, tangible proof that his brother represented a risk the monarchy could no longer afford to house. To understand the weight of this, you have to step into the shoes of a Sandringham staff member. The guests have departed. The grand rooms, which hours before echoed with laughter and conversation, are now silent. The cleanup is a routine of discretion, of seeing nothing and saying less. But on this morning, according to royal author Robert Jobson's sources, the routine shattered. In the guest bathrooms, staff didn't just encounter the usual mess. They found deliberately assembled party favours, gift bags. But the contents were a world away from miniature bottles of champagne or monogrammed chocolates. These bags reportedly contained performance-enhancing drugs, personal lubricant, and exotic prophylactics. Let that sink in. This wasn't debris from a spontaneous, out-of-control night. This was pre-arranged. It was intentional. It was a statement. The very act of preparing these bags suggests an expectation, a normalised culture within that private circle that was so far removed from the straightforward shooting weekend Andrew described to the public. For the staff, it was a jarring collision between their dignified workplace and a hidden world of brazen excess they were now forced to manage. This single discovery pulls the thread that unravels years of careful deflection. It lands with direct, explosive force on a specific claim Prince Andrew made under the glare of global scrutiny, his 2019 Newsnight interview. There, facing questions about his friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, Andrew was emphatic. He denied ever throwing a party for Ghislaine Maxwell at Sandringham. He framed his stays there with an almost boring respectability. The implication was clear. Sandringham was a sanctuary of proper conduct, untouched by the sleaze associated with his friends. These party bags, reportedly recovered from a Sandringham gathering, are a physical rebuttal to that testimony. As Jobson labelled it, this was another shameful distortion at the very least. The power of this detail is its specificity. It's not a vague "people were misbehaving." It's a forensic catalogue of items that point to a very specific type of adult, hedonistic environment. The exact kind of environment Andrew swore did not exist in that location. And if you think this is just a he said, she said scenario between an author and a prince, the walls close in further with a single piece of visual evidence. Enter the photograph released by the US Department of Justice. No grainy paparazzi shot, but official evidence. It shows Andrew utterly at ease, sprawled across a couch, lying on top of 5 young women, his head resting in one of their laps. The atmosphere is casual, club-like, not regal, and standing in the background, her gaze fixed on the scene, is Ghislaine Maxwell. The metadata, the sourcing, it all reportedly points to one location, Sandringham. This photo does two devastating things. First, it irrefutably places Maxwell at Sandringham, making a mockery of his no-party denial. Second, it visually confirms the culture of those gatherings, the same culture implied by the party bags. It's the missing scene to the props the staff found. The photograph provides the context, and the party bags provide the corroborating detail. Together, they form an incontrovertible narrative that bypasses words and goes straight to evidence. For the institution, this wasn't just a personal embarrassment, it was a systemic infection. Every new detail, the Virginia Giuffre lawsuit, the flight logs, the photo, and now the intimate trash left for staff, pushed Prince Andrew from being a problematic brother to being what palace aides coldly term an existential threat. King Charles III's actions, once seen as perhaps harsh, now look like a clinical operation to remove a tumour. The stripping of military titles and royal patronages severed his official link to the nation. The removal of his HRH style severed his formal link to the family brand. But the eviction from Royal Lodge, his Windsor home for 2 decades, was the most personal cut. It wasn't just about downsizing, it was a territorial purge. He was being moved off the royal map, confined to a more remote dwelling on the Sandringham estate, the very scene of the crime. Insiders describe Charles's mindset as one of protective ruthlessness. The party bags symbolised a reckless arrogance, a belief that the rules didn't apply. Charles's response was to show him, in brick and mortar and title, that they finally did. But here lies the ongoing nightmare for the palace. Physical exile does not guarantee a quiet resolution. Andrew, according to those who have spoken with his circle, resides in a state of defiant denial. He is said to believe this is a temporary storm, that the affection of the British public, or more likely the bond of family, will eventually see his situation soften. He has continued to refuse to cooperate with US authorities, believing silence is his best shield. This is what terrifies the King and the Prince of Wales, because Andrew's silence isn't passive, it's an active liability. It means every new document release from US investigations is a potential landmine. An email, a flight manifest, another photo. Anyone could reignite the global scandal in an instant. The palace thought they were managing a contained crisis. They now realise they are managing a permanent state of vulnerability. Andrew, in their view, is not a closed chapter, but a dormant volcano on the estate grounds. So, what is the true legacy of these infamous party bags? They transcend tabloid titillation. They serve as the perfect metaphor for Andrew's entire relationship with the crown. They represent the toxic debris of his personal choices, left for others, the staff, the institution, his family, to discreetly dispose of. They speak to a profound lack of awareness, a belief that his private world would never intersect with his public duty. For the late Queen, who dedicated her life to discipline and duty, this was the ultimate personal betrayal. For King Charles, navigating the monarchy's fragile future, it is a relentless administrative and emotional drain. The bags contained items for fleeting pleasure and avoided consequence. Ironically, they became the very evidence that ensured his consequences would be total, historic, and permanent. They proved he was not just a man who kept bad company, but one who cultivated a private environment in direct opposition to everything he was supposed to publicly represent. The story of Prince Andrew has evolved from scandal to saga to a sort of permanent Cold War within the House of Windsor. The party bags and the photos are artefacts from a past he cannot escape. But the real danger for the monarchy lives in the future, in the digital vaults of the American justice system. The most haunting question today is not what we already know happened at Sandringham. The question that keeps Palisades awake is, what don't we know yet? And when will it surface? Andrew may walk the grounds of his reduced estate, believing time is on his side. But in London, at Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace, time is measured in the gaps between US data dumps. The bags were cleaned up. The guest list faded. But the shadow cast by that weekend and by the man at its centre stretches longer and darker than ever, a stain on the institution that may never fully be washed away.